Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at games that went through development hell and came out the other side.
Never liked that game.
Never any good at it either.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Skull and Bones. The most recent game to escape development hell is Ubisoft's Skull and Bones. Beginning development in 2013, the game was originally conceptualized as an expansion for Assassin's Creed IV: Black Flag, given the popularity of that game's naval combat. It then grew to be its own pirate simulation title inspired by the former, before going through an extremely lengthy development period. Ubisoft announced the project in 2017, which went through numerous changes in gameplay and setting. A 2021 report by Kotaku revealed there were a lot of conflicting ideas behind the scenes about what the game should be. It suffered numerous delays, but eventually made it through, releasing in February of 2024, 11 years after its initial development began.
As long as that flesh pile gets its goods, I can do whatever I want on this island.
Team Fortress 2. Valve's beloved team-based FPS took quite the long time to get here. The game was first shown off at E3 1999. It originally featured a realistic visual style and took a more modern approach to warfare than other shooters of the time. The game was delayed in 2000 when Valve switched engines, but then news went quiet for 6 years. When Valve finally showed off Team Fortress 2 again in 2006, it looked entirely different. Gone was the realistic style, replaced by cartoonish flair. Gameplay was a bit different too, but everything was for the best. Team Fortress 2 released in 2007 and went on to become a highly influential title that still has a player base today. Duke Nukem Forever.
I can see the ships from here. I wonder if it's the same aliens you had to fight 12 years ago.
On the other side of things, too long a development period can lead to a dated game. Following the success of Duke Nukem 3D, developer 3D Realms immediately announced a sequel in 1997, with an expected release of Christmas 1998. However, Forever would turn out to be a pretty accurate title. It went through multiple changes in engine and severely lacked direction throughout its life cycle.
Duke, I know this is hard for you, but play it cool for now.
Studio founders George Broussard and Scott Miller were reportedly nightmares to work under. The game dragged on, delay after delay, until in 2009, when 3D Realms closed after publisher Take-Two wouldn't give them more money. However, Gearbox came to the rescue in 2010, finishing up development and releasing it in 2011.
You hear that? That is the sound of your imminent death.
Kirbys Return to Dreamland. Following 2000's Kirby 64, Nintendo began development on Kirby's Next Adventure for the then upcoming GameCube. It was to be similar to its predecessor, but would have featured multiplayer. Though Nintendo showed off the game at E3 2005, it would later be scrapped when the multiplayer proved too difficult to program. During the Wii era, the game would go through 2 more iterations, a 3D adventure and another side-scroller but with a different art style. Nintendo finally got things back on track in early 2010, keeping the original multiplayer idea well intact. Kirby's Return to Dreamland released in 2011, 11 years after development began. Dead Island 2.
Whoa, hey. You know you got all, blood coming out of your ears.
What? I can't hear you!
Considering the first game and its 2013 follow-up Riptide only received middling reviews, we're surprised Dead Island 2 ever released given what it had to go through. Entering development in 2012, it was announced in 2014 with new developer Yager Development, and a planned release of mid-2015. But then, Yager left the project, essentially citing creative differences between itself and publisher Deep Silver. In early 2016, Sumo Digital joined the fray, though was replaced by Deep Silver's internal development studio, Dambuster, in 2019. It would still take nearly 4 years before players got to experience it. 11 years after development started, Dead Island 2 released in April of 2023.
She always likes surprises.
Doom. Other than a few mobile games, things were pretty quiet between the release of 2004's Doom 3 and the franchise's 2016 revival. However, that was not the plan. id Software began development on Doom 4 in 2007. It would have reimagined Doom 2, focusing on demons invading Earth, and taken inspiration from Call of Duty. Thankfully, the higher-ups at the studio realized that wasn't really what Doom was, and decided to restart development to bring it more in line with the original games. That meant we got no news on the project for several years, until it was teased at E3 2014. It was released 2 years after the teaser, and 9 years after development began. Final Fantasy XV.
I've already pushed myself to the brink of death.
Beginning as a spin-off of another entry, Final Fantasy XV took 10 years of development before it was finally released. It was initially envisioned as Final Fantasy Versus 13, and Square Enix began work in 2006 for the PS3. Its ideas and design apparently grew so big that talks about turning it into a mainline installment began early on. The change happened definitively in 2012, with the upcoming releases of Sony and Microsoft's next consoles. This caused not only development to restart, but for the entire team dynamic to change. Even the game's director was replaced.
Makes sense.
Makes sense? Are you serious? What about any of this makes sense?
Final Fantasy XV spent another 4 years in development before it released, but it was all for the best.
Welcome back. Making quite a name for yourself.
Mother 3. A lot of games get stuck in development hell, but few span as many consoles as Mother 3. Nintendo began working on it for the Super Famicom in 1994, but with the onset of 3D, it wasn't long before development switched to the Nintendo 64, and then the 64DD, a disc-based peripheral. When that bombed in Japan, Nintendo discontinued it and moved Mother 3 back to the regular system. Fans got their first look at the game, known as Earthbound 64 in North America, in 1999. The game reportedly took too many resources while Nintendo was planning the launch of the GameCube. It was cancelled, but not forgotten. Though it didn't officially release outside Japan, Mother 3 landed on the GBA in 2006, after spending 12 years in development. Neo. When Team Ninja's Neo launched in 2017, it got a lot of comparisons to From Software's Souls-like games. Interestingly, its development actually predates the popular subgenre. The game's life started in 2004 under developer Koei, and it went through several fairly different versions before it would be released.
Me? Just hanging around.
Between 2004 and 2008, it spent time as a JRPG. After production was restarted, Omega Force came on as developer, turning it into an action game similar to Dynasty Warriors. Team Ninja was brought on to help in 2010, but became the sole developer in 2012, when Neo began to resemble its future action RPG self. It would still spend another 5 years in development, totaling 13 years overall. Metroid Dread. In 2005, Nintendo began work on a sequel to Metroid Fusion for the DS. Series creator Yoshio Sakamoto wanted to expand on the previous game's ideas with a bit more stealth and a horrifying antagonist that would hunt Samus throughout. Sadly, the handheld's hardware wasn't up to snuff. Sakamoto tried again in 2008, even producing a playable prototype, but found it didn't meet his expectations. Work on spin-offs and 3D games progressed, but most thought Dread to be dead. In fact, many players likely forgot all about it until Nintendo finally officially revealed it during its E3 2021 Direct. The shock of its actual existence was only matched by news that it would release in a few months, 16 years after Nintendo's first attempt at making it. Which games are you glad made it through development hell?
The world world's a big old place.
Filled with wonders.
Tell that to my legs.
Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great gaming videos every day.